Looking out the frosted window of her small Chicago apartment, Amy Bradley let out a long sigh. Outside, snowflakes drifted lazily under the dim glow of the street lamp, softening the noise of the city. Christmas was only days away, but instead of excitement, Amy felt the familiar weight pressing against her chest. That gnawing tightness never seemed to leave around the holidays. It had been 7 years since she had begun her career as an editor, proofreading manuscripts, checking grammar, and polishing paragraphs at a small publishing house. Her life was steady, safe, and respectable on paper, but in her heart, a shadow always followed her. Not enough. Never enough. The shadow grew larger each time she went home. Her father, Richard Bradley, a towering figure in real estate development, was the sort of man who always seemed to command a room. Her mother, Martha, was equally accomplished, running a high-end boutique that catered to Chicago's wealthiest women. And then there was her younger sister, Brooke, sharp, polished, ambitious, already an executive in their father's company. Brooke had recently been featured in a local magazine as one of the city's most promising female entrepreneurs. Whenever Amy sat at the dinner table, it always ended the same way. "Amy, how long are you going to keep being a bookworm?" Martha would sigh, her eyes flicking over Amy as if she were unfinished business. "Are you sure that salary of yours will be enough in the future?" Richard would add with a businessman's bluntness. "Why can't you be more ambitious, like Brooke?" Those conversations wrapped around Amy like barbed wire. She had learned to simply nod, shrinking into silence. Tonight was no different. On her phone was a text from her mother, short, commanding, with no trace of warmth. "We're having a family dinner at Lucille for Christmas. 7 o'clock. Be there." No question, no invitation, just an order. Lucille, the most prestigious French restaurant in Chicago, impossible to book without connections. Her father had probably secured the reservation with a single phone call. Amy slipped her phone into her pocket and turned toward her desk. The surface was cluttered with cookbooks and scattered notes. On the wall hung photographs she had taken herself, bowls of ramen from Tokyo, bright markets from Barcelona, steaming bread she had baked in her small oven. This was her real passion, cooking. For 4 years, she had been secretly running a blog, Amy's Kitchen Diary. Every weekend, she devoted herself to testing recipes, arranging dishes carefully on plates, and photographing them in the best natural light her tiny apartment offered. Her readership wasn't huge, but it was growing steadily. Recently, she had even received small requests from food magazines. But to her family, it was nothing, worse than nothing. If they found out, they would dismiss it as a hobby, something childish. Still, the blog was her pride. On her laptop screen was her most recent post, a Christmas recipe for orange and rosemary roasted duck. She scrolled down to the comments, her eyes catching on one line that made her chest ache with something like joy. "I tried serious cooking for the first time using Amy's recipe. My family was impressed." It wasn't much, just a few kind words from a stranger, but to Amy, it was everything. It was proof that she mattered, at least to someone. She turned to her closet, thinking of what to wear. After 3 years, she was finally joining her family for Christmas Eve dinner again. Her eyes lingered on a single item, her one splurge from last year's bonus, a deep green cashmere dress. Carefully, she lifted it from the hanger, smoothing the fabric with her hands. "This year," she whispered to her reflection in the mirror, "this year, maybe I'll be part of the conversation. Maybe they'll see me differently. Maybe." She didn't finish the thought. Instead, she pressed the dress to her chest as if holding on to courage. The night of the dinner arrived. As Amy stepped out of the taxi, Lucille's golden light spilled across the snowy sidewalk. Carols floated faintly from within, mingling with the clinking of glasses and the laughter of the well-dressed patrons who swept past her into the warmth. Amy paused, brushing invisible wrinkles from her dress, her hands trembling slightly. "No more running away," she whispered, before pushing the heavy glass door open. Inside, the restaurant glowed with quiet opulence. Chandeliers dripped with crystals, their light scattering across marble floors. Sommeliers moved with practiced grace, carrying bottles that gleamed under the lights. The air was filled with the rich aromas of butter, wine, and roasted meat. "The Bradley reservation," she murmured at the reception desk. Immediately, she was recognized and guided toward the back. where the private dining rooms awaited. As she walked, Amy couldn't help but slow down near the open kitchen display. The plating was immaculate, each dish arranged with artistry that stole her breath. A steaming bowl of consommé shimmered like amber glass. A roasted quail lay perfectly browned, accented with jewel-bright cranberries. Someday, Amy thought, her heart stirring, I want to create beauty like this. But then she caught sight of her family. Oh, you finally came, Martha said, her tone sharp even as her eyes swept Amy from head to toe. She wore a tailored Chanel suit and a string of pearls, her posture radiating effortless authority. Sorry I'm late, Amy said quietly. As usual, Richard added without looking up, his eyes still on his watch. His silver hair gleamed under the lights, his suit immaculate. Sis, that dress, you tried, didn't you? Brooke smiled, her words sugar-coated but edged with mockery. She was flawless as always, diamond earrings glittering, her designer gown hugging her figure like it was made for her alone. Amy's confidence wavered. Suddenly, her cherished green dress felt plain. Still, she smiled weakly and took her seat. Her father raised his champagne glass, the golden liquid sparkling, to another year of health, success, and family. The toast was made, glasses clinked, and conversation turned to Brooke's achievements. She spoke animatedly about her latest project, and Richard nodded with pride. Martha chimed in with gossip about wealthy acquaintances. Politics came next, then business deals, and Amy remained in her role, listener, smiling politely, nodding when expected. But deep down, her chest tightened again. Should she tell them? Should she mention her blog's growing readership, or the article requests she had begun to receive? She could almost hear their voices mocking her. She swallowed the thought with her wine. It wasn't until dessert arrived that everything shifted. Amy sat frozen, the soft golden lights of the restaurant reflecting off Jacob's business card like it carried a secret promise. The name Monroe Restaurant Group shimmered in her hands, each letter etched in fine gold, almost unreal. She blinked, trying to process what had just happened. Jacob leaned forward slightly, his voice calm but deliberate. I was moved by how you value time with your family on such a Christmas night. That's why I have a proposition for you. The card felt heavier than paper. It was an invitation, an acknowledgement, something Amy had never received from anyone sitting at this very table. We operate 5 restaurants in Chicago and New York, including Lucille, Jacob explained, his words measured yet warm. Next year, we're launching a new project, a food culture magazine and website called Taste of Chicago. Amy's heart pounded. She had heard of Lucille, a place that appeared in glossy magazines, a restaurant reserved for the city's elite. To even be mentioned in the same breath felt impossible. Jacob's gaze didn't waver. I'd like you to join us as a regular columnist. A columnist? Amy whispered, almost afraid the word would vanish if she said it too loudly. Yes, Jacob said firmly, introducing hidden gems in Chicago, sharing recipes that honor seasonal ingredients, cultural reflections on food, your voice, your perspective, all of it matters, and of course, you'll be credited and compensated fairly. The atmosphere shifted. Richard, who had mocked Amy's choices for years, now studied Jacob with unexpected respect. Brooke, stunned, stared as if she couldn't recognize her own sister. And Martha, who just an hour ago had dismissed Amy's dreams as childish, suddenly sat up straighter, her tone unrecognizable. Amy, how wonderful, Martha exclaimed, her voice sharp with sudden pride. To think our daughter would be scouted by such a respected restaurateur. Amy's jaw tightened. The same mother who had once rolled her eyes at Amy's blog posts now spoke as if she had always believed in her. The hypocrisy stung, but Amy remained composed. Richard, sensing an opportunity, leaned forward. If you're interested, Amy, perhaps Jacob could also introduce you to. Perhaps this is not the time, Jacob interjected smoothly, his tone polite but firm. Tonight is Christmas Eve. Business talk can wait for another occasion. Richard fell silent, chastised. Jacob turned back to Amy with genuine warmth. What do you say? I'd love to discuss this in more detail at my office next week. Amy's chest tightened. Was this really happening? For years she had poured herself into writing late at night, cooking in her small kitchen, photographing dishes in soft daylight that streamed through her window. It had been lonely, often thankless, yet now, a man like Jacob Monroe, whose name commanded respect in the culinary world, sat across from her, inviting her into a future she had barely dared to imagine. Her throat felt dry, but she managed to say, "I'd love to hear more." Jacob's smile deepened. "Wonderful. Monday, 2 p.m. at my office. I'll be waiting." He stood, gave a slight bow, and addressed the table with gracious composure. "Please enjoy your evening. After dessert, we've prepared special Christmas cocktails." But before leaving, he gave Amy one final, meaningful glance, as though to remind her this wasn't a dream. The table remained silent until Brooke finally blurted out, "Sis, what's going on? How does someone like him even know about your blog?" Martha quickly added, "Yes, Amy, why didn't you tell us something this important?" Amy set the card down, her fingers trembling slightly, but her voice steady. "Because I didn't think you'd take me seriously." Her family exchanged uneasy looks. For the first time, guilt flashed in their eyes. "I've been writing that food blog for 4 years," Amy continued. "What started as simple posts about my cooking experiments grew into something real. Last month, I passed 100,000 page views. I've even had magazines reach out." Brooke's mouth fell open. "Is that actually a big deal?" "For a food blog, yes," Amy said firmly, pride lacing her words. "My readers are women who want real cooking advice, real stories, their comments, their trust. That's what drives me." As she spoke, Amy felt something rising inside her, not anger, not bitterness, but a confidence she had buried for too long. Her passion spilled out in her words. She spoke of markets she loved to visit, the joy of seasonal produce, the small family-run shops she featured. For the first time, she wasn't trying to convince her family of her worth, she was simply stating it. Richard looked at her differently now, as if he were only just realizing she was more than the daughter he had underestimated. Martha's eyes softened, carrying something almost like regret. "Why didn't you tell us?" Martha asked again, quieter this time. Amy took a breath, steady and calm. "Because I thought you'd ridicule me." The words landed heavily. Silence followed. No one could argue with her. They had done exactly that. Martha opened her mouth, faltered, then looked away. Amy picked up her fork, her expression serene. "It doesn't matter now. I know my worth, and there are people out there who recognize it too." Her gaze drifted toward the path Jacob had taken. His appearance tonight felt like more than coincidence. It felt like a door had opened, a door that had been locked for years. The waiter set down dessert plates, the chocolate mousse shining under candlelight. Amy slid her fork through the surface, tasting sweetness. But what lingered was not chocolate. It was possibility.